Most people are going to bet the World Cup like they always do. They're going to pick a team they like, chase big favorites, throw parlays together, and then wonder why they get smoked. But Kalshi is different. You're not just betting odds, you're trading prices. And if you understand how to read those prices, compare them to real probability, and avoid the emotional traps that everyone else falls into, you can give yourself a completely different edge during the World Cup. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I use Kalshi during the World Cup step by step. Not as a magic money machine, not as guaranteed picks, but as a research tool and market where the goal is simple. Find where the price is wrong before everybody else catches up. Kalshi has active World Cup markets, including winning markets and individual game markets, where prices represent the market's current implied probability. On a sportsbook, you're used to seeing odds, like minus 150, plus 220, plus 400. On Kalshi, you're usually looking at contract price. If something is trading around 60 cents, the market is basically saying that the outcome has around a 60% chance. If it wins, it pays out $1. If it loses, it goes to zero. So the question is not, do I like this team? The question is the price cheaper than the real probability? For example, if France is trading at 18 cents to win the World Cup, the market is saying that they have roughly an 18% chance. Your job is to figure out if their real chance is higher or lower than that. The World Cup is where the public bias gets crazy because people love Brazil, Argentina, France, England, and because casual money floods into recognizable teams, some of those prices can get inflated. That does not mean those teams are bad. It just means that the price might be bad. A great team can still be a terrible trade if the price is too expensive. For individual games, I'm looking for three things. Number one, does the market overrate the favorite? Number two, is the draw being ignored? And number three, is there a style matchup the public does not understand? Soccer's not like basketball, where the better team usually separates over 48 minutes. A weaker team can park the bus, slow the game down, survive pressure, and drag a better team into a draw. That's why World Cup markets can get weird. But this is where the edge can show up. I want to compare the Kalshi price to sportsbook odds. If Kalshi says a team has a 52% chance, but the sportsbook market is implying closer to 58%, that difference matters. It does not automatically mean you fire, but it tells you, okay, there may be something here worth researching. Let's say, for example, if a contract is 45 cents, the market says 45%. If my research says the real chance is actually 52%, now I have a positive edge. That's the whole game. Now let's jump into Kalshi so I could kind of show you exactly how that works, and you could see for yourself how the separation of where you could find an edge and what the difference is between using Kalshi and using another sportsbook. Now if we take a look at Kalshi right now, this is an example of the France versus Senegal game. The biggest thing in the separation between the sportsbooks and Kalshi is the amount of money you can get down on plays. So for example, if you look right here, I'm going to highlight this number right here, the volume number. As you can see in the volume number there, I'm going to go in a little bit here so you can see. There's almost $10 million being wagered on this matchup. Okay. Now what does that do? That $10 million, what does that tell you? That tells you that there is enough money in this pool to, if you wanted to bet, let's say France, for example, you could wager, $50,000 if you wanted to. Let's see, you could possibly wager up $500,000. You could wager $500,000 on this if you wanted to. Okay? Whereas in regular sports books, you literally cannot do that. They would never allow you. You could never go on DraftKings right now and put $500,000 on France to win this game. They would never let you do that. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Those are one of the biggest advantages of using Kalshi and using a prediction market compared to sports books is when there's enough money in the volume pool, you're able to get down a substantial amount of money and not get banned. It's one of the biggest things when it comes to sports books and sports betting is you get banned when you win. Okay? I've been banned from multiple sports books. Never been banned from Kalshi, Polymarket, any of that stuff. Why? Because you can't. It's a prediction market and it's peer-to-peer. Okay? So you're just in a pool with everybody else. Similar to poker. When you play poker, for example, you're in a pool. Everybody's money is in a pool, right? Somebody wins a hand, they're taking money from somebody else. It's the same thing here, okay? You win $500,000 on France, or you wager $500,000 on France, well, the profit that you're getting is just profit from everybody else that's bet on the other side, okay? That's the biggest advantage of Kalshi and prediction markets is you will never get banned, and you can literally, if you have the right strategies down, you can literally print money. You can print money if you have the right strategies down, which I've taught multiple strategies on YouTube for you guys on how to attack the World Cup and every single sport that's out there. So make sure you guys check that as well. But back to how to exploit some of this stuff. Okay. So for example, let's go down to total goals here. Now, another big thing with Kalshi is you can alternate line almost anything here. Okay, you can alternate line the total, you can alternate line how much France wins by, the total goals by the team. You could do all that good stuff. Okay, you could even come down here and let's say player props, for example. You can go and look at player props for goal scorer. All that stuff is in here, similar to the sports books, the regular sports books. Okay, now let's go back to the total here on the matchup. All right, so if we go to 1.5 here, we see 79% at 80 cents. It's basically 80%. Okay, they're pretty much telling you there's an 80% chance that this game goes over 1.5 goals scored. Now, I made a video on this before. Okay, the true probability behind this is somewhere around 85 to 88%. Okay, so giving us about a 5 to 8% edge on just this play right here. And as you could see, with this play right here, we could come over here, and again, we could go back to the well, and you could place $50,000 on it if you wanted to. Now, $500,000, you can't because there's not enough in the pool on that bet. As you can see right here, the max amount you could bet is $470,000 on that play. Okay, but let's say we want to do $250,000. $250,000 we could. Now, sometimes you would see something like this where it says odds slippage. That means you're putting so much money into the pool that you're overtaking other people's money. Okay, so the payout becomes less because of that. So that's one thing to look at when you're wagering high amounts of money, because then it might not seem worth it if you're taking up all the money in the pool. All right, but this is a classic example of using Kalshi to be able to beat the edge. This is how you'd find the edge. So right here we have an 80% chance that Kalshi's given you, pretty much, but our true probability behind this play is 85 to 88%. And we have a 5 to 8% edge just on that play right there. And we can put a decent amount of money down. Like I said, we could go up to what, 50, let's say before any slippage, we can go 200,000, okay? Now I know people are going to look at that and be like, 200,000 to make $22,000 or $23,000. Yeah, but when you have, like I said, an 85 to 88% chance, you're obviously not going to do that. So obviously with my bankroll, like I stick between 10,000 to 20,000 per bet in that range, okay? But that's how you find an edge there, okay? We just found an edge on this play. Now, as for the money lines, we don't really know if the edge that we're going to have here, because it's very hard in World Cup soccer to get an edge in the group stages because you have the tie that's in there as well. Very hard to get a true probability that's going to work there, okay? But like I said, if you have the right strategy down and you understand how you can exploit numbers on Kalshi, you can make a ton of money because you will never get limited, okay? You will literally just take money from everybody else that's in the pool. It's that simple. Okay, now let's go down here to an example of France total goals. All right, them to just score 1 goal in this matchup. Okay, for them to just score 1 goal in this matchup, we have an implied probability here of 88%. Now, the true probability on this, for them to get just 1 goal, is in the 90 percentile true probability. Okay, so you have a little bit of an edge here. Not a crazy edge, but you have a little bit of an edge. Now, again, this is similar to J trading though, because you could go here and let's see what we could get down there. You can get down 20,000 there to make 5,000 if you think France is going to just score 1 goal, which they should, right? They should score at least 1 goal against Senegal, and the numbers prove that to be true. So just like that, like it's day trading. You take the sports betting aspect out of it, and there's no more of this like, let me put a 5-legger together to wager, $10 to make $1,000, $2,000. You can do that on here, but there's no reason to. This is where heavy hitters are going to go and play. We're going to play on here. We're not going to play on any other sports book because there's no reason to. There's no reason to go and bet on any other sports book where you're going to get banned and you're going to lose, long term, because you're not going to be able to make enough money before they ban you. That's the way it works. But when it comes to Kalshi, like I said, there's no limits here. You can literally do whatever it is you want as long as the money's in the pool. And another thing you could do here is you could even bet on the announcers of what they're going to say during the game. Like there's so many different options of stuff that you can do that you can't do on regular sports books. And I honestly think that the prediction markets are going to take over and they're going to absolutely just knock out the sports books, because there's no reason for sports books anymore. There's truly not. Like you get almost everything you need right here on these prediction markets, and you can't get banned and you can't get limited. It's the biggest thing in sports betting for a professional sports bettor. because trust me, over the years it's been a pain having to go through multiple sports books and multiple accounts and having to do all that when I don't have to do any of that anymore. I just have to use Kalshi. It's that simple. Now that I showed you exactly how to go on Kalshi and be able to find your edge on certain plays, well, now how do you find that edge in general to know, just like how I knew, the team total or the over-under for total goals in the game? How did I know that? Okay. Well, I knew that because I've had strategies that have been tracked for years on specific events. And I have implemented those strategies into the Linemaker AI, okay, which is an AI system that pretty much automates all the work that you have to do manually and prints it out within a couple seconds and gives you the answers. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to spend 2 hours digging through injuries, form, travel, rest, formations, head-to-heads, and market movement. I don't want to do that anymore, okay? All I have to do is ask the Linemaker AI, break down this World Cup match, and then it'll give me the best bets within that World Cup match. Let's go ahead and just jump into the Linemaker AI so I can show you guys just how simple this really was. Okay, so all I did was put in, give me a breakdown of the best matchups in the World Cup today that have the highest probability to go over 1.5 goals. And as you can see, the one that we were just discussing was France versus Senegal. And it's given us a true probability of 92% there, okay? 92% true probability, as when we were looking at what? The odds on Kalshi, giving us an 80% implied probability, thus giving us that edge. Just like I said, you didn't even need to know the strategy, because if you use the Linemaker AI, you literally just ask it that prompt and literally it'll pop up stuff. You don't have to go through hours of research of looking up certain things to find the answer here that this is the game that you should be looking at. So like I said, this automates everything super quick for you, makes it within seconds, and you're able to find exactly what it is you should be looking for and what plays give you an edge. And then it's as simple as going from here over to Kalshi and placing that bet. And that right there is how you stop guessing. Now, you're not asking AI to magically print money. You're using it to research faster and make fewer emotional decisions. Because here's the biggest problem when it comes to World Cup betting. There's traps, and here's one of the traps. Betting countries that you like, okay? Just because you like a country doesn't mean they're good, doesn't mean they're going to win. You need to have the proper research behind it to be able to know if you should bet on that or not. The second trap is assuming that the favorite is always going to win, because that's not always true, especially in the group stage where you have a tie that's going to be implemented into that betting. The third trap is overreacting to one game. Similar to Spain having a 0-0 first game in the group stage. Everybody's kind of overreacting, saying that, oh, they're not going to do anything and they're never going to make a run, not how they played there. Well, guess what? Hate to say it, but Spain usually comes out the gate a little soft, and then they end up turning it up. But the whole crowd overreacts. That's one area where you could probably exploit on Kalshi the next time Spain ends up playing. And the next trap is going to be going too big because it's the World Cup, okay? The numbers that I showed you and the bets that I place still have the bankroll management implemented, because you still need that regardless of what the event that you're playing, whether it's the World Cup, the Super Bowl, whatever it is, any big event, you still got to implement your right bankroll management in there, because if you don't, in the end, you could still put yourself in a hole somehow. Now, the World Cup makes people emotional, and Kalshi punishes emotional traders. I'll tell you that. If I was trading World Cup markets, I would keep the sizing boring, okay? I would go from 1 to 5% per position. There's no chasing, no doubling down after you lose. No, this team can't lose nonsense, because yes, they can. We literally see huge upsets and draws in tournaments all the time. So here's the process that I'd follow before placing any bet on Kalshi. First, I'd look at the Kalshi price. Second, I'd convert it into probability, just like how we did in what I showed you. Third, I'd compare it to other sports books as well, even though it doesn't really matter. That step doesn't really matter too much, because in the end, the amount of money that I want to put down on that play, probably I'm not going to be able to do another sports book, so I'd still end up, reverting down to Kalshi again. And then the fourth, you're going to research the team news, style, injuries, rest, and motivation. Now, how do you do that? Easily, like I said, all you got to do is use the Linemaker AI. If you guys want to use the Linemaker AI to figure out all this stuff within seconds and get the answers within seconds, make sure you guys start your free trial. Click the link in the description. It's that simple, and it will save you so much time, so you do not have to sit there and spend hours looking through individual stats. The next thing I would ask is, what does the market know that I might be missing? And the last thing is, you only trade if the price is still wrong after all of that and you have an edge. If you have an edge and everything lines up, that's when you place a bet. You don't just place a bet just because you feel like it, Okay? You have to have an edge. If everything still lines up but you still don't have an edge, long term you can't place those bets because you will lose, and they are negative. You will lose long term placing negative EV plays. When you have a plus edge, a percentage, anything, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever it is, that is how you profit long term. You profit by betting a plus edge, not a negative edge. So the biggest thing is, can you win on Kalshi during the World Cup? Yes, but not by guessing, not by chasing favorites, not by betting countries because you recognize the players. You win by treating it like a market. Price first, probability second, research third, discipline always. And like I said, if you want to research these games faster, compare odds, break down matchups, and stop making blind World Cup bets, that's exactly why I built the Linemaker app. Use the link in the description to start your free trial, and before you place your next World Cup bet, actually know what the hell you're betting on. As always, I'm Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.